This captain mistakenly saying the word prisoners instead of something else is a matter of life and death in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let me explain. If you're new here, we do frequent Avatar videos, including episode reviews, theory, and analysis, so please consider subscribing. In the episode The Avatar State, Azula lies to Zuko and Iroh, stating that their father wants Zuko returned back home. And as they depart home, a certain Fire Nation captain says, "You heard the princess, raise the anchors, we're taking the prisoners home." This is a what-if video of what would happen if this captain did not say prisoners and Azula managed to capture Iroh and Zuko and take them back to the Fire Nation. We'll explore how this changes Iroh's storyline, Zuko's storyline, Team Avatar's storyline, and how and when they actually merge back together. So if the captain says something else, possibly to the effect of "we're taking the prince and the general back home," Azula would have had them board the ship. She would have incapacitated them somehow, and they would be trying to escape, but Azula literally runs a tight ship, and that would not happen under her watch. So they will get back to the Fire Nation, and they will be placed in prisons. It's important to note that when Iroh was captured after Book 2, he was in prison. He also had the demeanor of a person who was disheveled and a little bit off. I doubt that he would keep this facade up because there was just really no meaning for it. Also in the show, despite Iroh being behind bars, he was still running things on the outside. He was able to get messages out to Zuko. He was probably able to get messages out to the White Lotus. He was fairly connected. I think Iroh and Zuko would be placed in fairly separated cells, but Iroh will still reach out to him. Iroh will still get messages out to Zuko. Really sending him messages, just asking really hard life questions about what he wants out of life, and questions about morality and loyalty and what does it really mean to own your own destiny. I also think he will share with Zuko his own life stories. I think he'll talk about his past, his upbringing in the Fire Nation, the burden he felt trying to carry on the war of his past fathers. He'll eventually talk about his son Luten and how he died in the war and how that had such a dramatic effect on Iroh, and how he went through depression, he was saddened by it, but also how he came through it and how he came through it a better person and a more spiritual person. I imagine like a little Iroh mini arc here, perhaps some flashbacks towards that. As for Zuko in the show, one of the significant aspects of him returning home a hero after the Crossroads of Destiny is that he got to see what his life would be like if he was the perfect prince, if he had his father's admiration and attention, and through that he learned that that wasn't him on the inside. Now he won't be able to do this in this scenario, but he will see this through Azula. He'll kind of live in a way vicariously through Azula, and she will share with him, because she likes to gloat a lot, all the evil plans that they have concocted together. She will also taunt him like she did when they were kids. With that being said, after a short period of time, I do think Fire Lord Ozai would assign Azula a new task of capturing the Avatar. And on this mission, she would head back to Omashu because there have been Avatar sightings there anyway, and she'll pick up Mai, and eventually she'll pick up Ty Lee. So it's just the regular prison guards guarding Iroh. He is concocting a plan to get him and Zuko out of the prison, but it's really difficult to get them both out of the Fire Nation prisons. I imagine as they try and make their escape, the alarms sound, and Fire Lord Ozai knows what type of strength his brother has. He knows that with Azula gone, only he stands in the way of Iroh escaping. And so he personally goes and visits the cell in the prison. And this is going to be one of the biggest changes to the story. Iroh, knowing that escape for the two of them is very difficult, he challenges Ozai to an Agni Kai. They engage in a fight of epic proportions. Fire Lord Ozai being the aggressor with continuous fire blasts, and Iroh being the calm demeanor, mostly defense, being that immovable object. It's fairly a stalemate, and Zuko will look on in awe and some fear and shock, fear of losing his real father. And in a moment of just brief quietness, Iroh sits and he listens, and then he closes his eyes and meditates. And with that short moment with his guard down, Ozai takes advantage of this and delivers a fatal fire blast. If this sounds familiar to you, it should, because this sounds like Star Wars, where Obi-Wan Kenobi is fighting Darth Vader. Obi-Wan knows what his destiny needs to be, so he sacrifices himself and lets Vader strike him down, but becomes more powerful. But in this fight, instead of two old guys poking each other with light sticks, this fight will be completely epic and just what we've all been waiting for. But like Obi-Wan, Iroh is more powerful than he was before in a certain sense. You see, in the situation before Iroh was completely struck down, he meditated himself into the spirit world. But of course, Zuko really doesn't know this the same way that Luke Skywalker doesn't know this. And Zuko watches on as his real father is killed in front of him. In the aftermath of this raging battle, Zuko makes his escaping to the Earth Kingdom, where now his mission is to find the Avatar and bring balance back to the world. So, what is Team Avatar up to? Well, their journey to Ba Sing Se stays relatively the same compared to the show. They return to Amashu with the goal of King Bumi training Aang in earthbending, and with Azula no longer there, they successfully, in a way, trade King Bumi for a baby. But King Bumi declines because King Bumi knows his own destiny, knows what he needs to do. They then meet Toph still, and Toph is still a BA. They do still go to the Spirit Library, and they learn about the Day of Black Sun, and they start planning the invasion. But before that, Appa still sadly gets captured and kidnapped, and they're still searching for him, so they still make their way to Ba Sing Se. I do think Azula and her gang gets back on their trail eventually. They probably still meet up with the Kyoshi warriors, and they still take them out and imprison them and take their disguises, and they still attempt to penetrate Ba Sing Se with the drill. And again, they still lose in the same exact fashion as before. Now, there could be an arc here where Zuko is really alone, as in Zuko alone, and he's really depressed, and similar to my theories about Iroh and how he got to the spirit world, is that he was in such a very low point that he was open to great spiritual change, the same way that Korra was at the end of book 1 in The Legend of Korra. So if he was able to do that, he will be able to at least meditate into the spirit world. He could still be in contact with Iroh, gaining information and knowledge and wisdom from him. At the same time, Zuko is on his way to Ba Sing Se with a little help from just random visions of Iroh leading him towards there, and also help from the White Lotus. But since Iroh is no longer physically with Zuko, he doesn't firebend his tea. And that was the one thing that set Jet off. And also, I'm not sure Jet is even in this situation. He could be, but even if he is, he's no longer paranoid about Zuko being in the Fire Nation. So Jet doesn't fight Zuko, Jet also doesn't get arrested, and he doesn't get brainwashed by the Dai Li. And a brainwashed Jet doesn't try and convince the Team Avatar to go to Kangaroo Island in search of Appa. That being said, I do think Team Avatar still finds Appa because nothing was going to stop Aang from finding Appa, and they were already really close to finding him anyway. Azula and her gang, again dressed as Kyoshi warriors, still infiltrate the Dai Li, and they still take over parts of Ba Sing Se. And Team Avatar goes their separate ways just as they did in the show. Aang goes to the Eastern Air Temple to meet up with the Guru, Toph gets kidnapped again, Sokka goes and meets his dad, and then Aang still sees visions of Katara being imprisoned, and they all head back, and they find Azula there, sitting on the throne, and they still have a very climactic battle at the Crossroads of Destiny. But unlike last time, this time Zuko is fighting on their side, and I do think they defeat Azula. And Aang doesn't get shot by lightning. He doesn't lose connections to his past lives. Azula does manage to retreat back home because, well, she's Azula and she's a BA. However, she now has a lot of tarnishes on her record. I mean, she has some consistent losses. She lost a battle at the drill. She lost the Crossroads of Destiny. When she returns home, she's not returning home a hero. She's returning home somewhat of a failure. And Fire Lord Ozai might not treat her terribly at this point, but he's going to treat her less than perfect. His treatment towards her and just her with all these losses is going to start to chip away her ego and her psyche. And I think she would start going down that path of insanity that she eventually went down in the show. As for Main Ty Lee, they probably stay captured and they don't get that chance of redemption. And the fully formed new Team Avatar with Zuko starts preparations for the Day of Black Sun. And on the Day of Black Sun, they have a full-on scale invasion to the Fire Nation. I do think Zuko and Azula would have another Agni Kai. This time, Aang will find the Fire Lord, and I think he beats the Fire Lord this time. I mean, Aang would have a bunch of time to master firebending, learning from Zuko. He would have had that same time to continue to learn earthbending. He was already great at waterbending. He was already a master of airbending. And of course, he had the Avatar state to back him up that he would have at least been close to mastering anyway. So this comet still arrived, giving the Fire Nation firebenders more power, but this time it doesn't matter as much because Zuko has control over the Fire Nation, and Ozai and Azula probably would have been sent off to the southern water tribe and the northern water tribe in prisons there, highly guarded. So yeah, so if this one Fire Nation captain would have just said something else besides the prisoners, Jet would have lived and Iroh would have died. So I'm really glad that he messed up, because I will kill 1,000 Jets in order not to kill one Iroh. Okay, that's really dark. I didn't mean for that to get dark. So that's it. I know this is fairly fan-fictiony, but those are my thoughts on what I think would have happened. I am dying to know what your thoughts are. So please comment below, please like the video, please consider subscribing, and sincerely, thank you for watching. I'm out.